The Chicago Bulls ended the trade deadline on Thursday, making 7 moves in total. It was a very interesting week and a very puzzling week if you're a Chicago Bulls fan. It just got weirder and weirder as the week went on, and nothing really made sense. And then to top it off, Arturas Karnisovas took to talk to the media to detail what he thought was a successful trade deadline. He basically started off with 3 points, where the Bulls are and where they're going. He said that the plan is not our goal, that a championship is the goal. And also saying that they were not satisfied with being in the play-in and that they were committed to building the right way without skipping steps. He said also the process is going to take a while, which is funny to me because him saying that they were committed to not being in the middle and playing the right way and committed to building the right way just wasn't accurate at all. They've been in the middle for basically 4 years. So I'm not sure what Arturas was talking about when he suggested that, we're not going to be happy being in the middle, which they've been for the last 3 to 4 years. He also talked about building around experienced youth and a new mix of players and named Josh Giddey, Matas Buzelis, Isaac Okoro, Noah Essengay, and Jalen Smith as the new core. So these are the players that it seems like Arturas is going to be comfortable building around. Not quite sure if that's the core that you want to lean on. But again, as I discussed on the Under the Hood podcast with Jonathan Hood, they're hedging their bets on Matas Buzelis and Josh Giddey, and more so Buzelis. He's their linchpin. They're banking everything on him. And Arturas needs to hit on Matas because that's really the only draft pick under his tenure outside of Io, who they traded, which, has been moderately successful. He then talked about financial flexibility and having draft capital. Now, after all these flurries of trades that the Bulls made, they have 14 second-round draft picks, about $35 million in cap space. They have a number of expiring contracts, including Anthony Simons. It's going to be interesting to see that the players that they got back, Jaden Ivey is another one, if they're going to be able to keep those players, if those players even want to stay, or are they just going to use these last 28 games or so to, see what they can get out there in the market. After that, AK took questions, and you knew that the media was just going to come after them, and they did. They asked him, why now to make the moves? AK really just sidestepped a lot of questions. He did say that the organization knew that they were going into the season to make changes or changes needing to be made. And if that was the case, and if they knew this, why not make the changes during this last offseason? If you knew you were going to unload Vooch and you knew you were going to unload Kobe and Io and some of the other players that they traded, I think this was a last swing for AK to really see if they could take this collection of players and see if they could mix well together and kind of repeat what they did back in the 21-22 season. It didn't work. And then that's when AK decided, hey, changes needed to be made. He said he didn't want to risk losing players in free agency. Again, gets back to my point of if he wasn't or had fears about losing players in free agency, why not trade them again during the offseason? They knew they weren't bringing Kobe White back because if they did, they would have locked him up. We've been screaming about maybe you should trade Vooch for the last 2+ years. I believe it was Joe Cowley who asked him about, kind of talking down on the second round draft picks. And now they've amassed, basically the infinity stones of second round draft picks. And AK's response was, you can't have too many draft picks. Well, second round draft picks really don't mean much right now in the NBA, even with the way that the cap and the team structure is situated. This isn't the 80s and 90s where you could really find some good players and gems in the second round. You really have to hit in that first round. So having this plethora of second round picks is just not going to work. He also refused to say that the Bulls are in a rebuild. Of course they're in a rebuild. When you unload Nikola Vucevic and Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu, when you unload those players, of course you're going into a rebuild. And I don't understand why AK refuses to just say that. Just say, hey, we're going to tear this whole thing down and just start all over. He also played the lack of consistency and health card, which is what he plays every year, especially at the end of the season, where he talks about, The team, wasn't healthy for a good stretch of the season. And we want to see how this team really operates once we have our full complement of players. This is a trope that AK has used for years. And frankly, it's tiring. It's nauseating. And he's basically run out of excuses. So now that he's basically blown this team up, what's next? And then do you trust Arturas Karnisovas to get this right and rebuild this team? I mean, outside of hiring Billy Donovan and again, mortgage the farm to bring in Vucevic, and you win a couple of years without first round draft picks. And that contingent of Vooch and DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, he took a swing at it. It didn't work. And really, he should have blown this thing up 2, 3 years ago. I don't think he deserves a rebuild. I just don't. He hasn't shown that he's been able to either push his chips in or just say, hey, this thing isn't working. We need a reset. He has talked about not being in the middle, but has consistently been in the middle for the last 3, 4 years. I don't trust him. I just don't. And if Michael Reinsdorf is serious about making the Bulls a real contender in this league, he's got to move on from Arturas Karnisovas and find a vice president of operations that is really going to be committed to bringing the Bulls back to relevance. Let me know what you think.